I'm Mike Daniel, and this is Real Grace Life. I sent out a devotional yesterday to our community via email. If you're not on that list, you can go to MikeQDaniel.com and sign up. It's all free. But I send out the occasional devotional and as well as these videos. So if you haven't seen it, be sure to either check your spam folder where a lot of group emails go, or sign up if you haven't signed up already or you're not sure. But I sent out this devotional for Easter this last weekend that used this passage, and I had some more things that I wanted to share via video today from that same passage. So if you want more of this, check that devotional. But there's an emphasis that I just couldn't add to the written devotional as much as I would like. This is in Matthew chapter 28, beginning in verse 1. Now, after the Sabbath, toward the dawn of the first day of the week, this would be what we call Easter morning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. I love that there's an eyewitness account of the stone being rolled back, of the angel descending from heaven, that the women actually saw this. Not all of the accounts detail that. It just describes what happens when they get there. But this account in Matthew actually describes the stone being rolled away, the angel descending from heaven, sitting on top of the stone. I love all of that. So we know with certainty what happened. And it says his appearance was like lightning. I think that just means he was bright like that, like the flash of lightning. But who knows? We'll ask them when we get there to heaven. And his clothing white as snow. And for fear of him, the guards trembled and became like dead men. They freaked out and passed out. I love that. Again, we know what happened to them. They saw the stone rolled away. They saw the angel. They felt the earthquake and passed out. So they became like dead men. And then in verse 5 it says, but the angel said to the women, I love that he didn't say this to the guards. He said to the women, do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen, as he said. Now this is the part I want to talk about. Come, see the place where he lay, then go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead, and behold, he is going before you to Galilee. It goes on from there. The angel actually said to the women, I know you're freaked out. I know you don't know if you should believe me. I know you don't understand what it means that he's risen, and that's what he was saying all along, that he would be risen again. So let's do this. Come and see him where he lay, and then quickly go and tell the disciples. Isn't that interesting? He's not saying, I'm an angel. Believe me. He's risen. Go and tell the disciples. First, he deals with them at the point of their need. Look, you're concerned for what's happened to Jesus. You're concerned that the stone has been rolled away. You're concerned that the one that you loved, that you thought was going to deliver you, died, first of all, and now is missing. So come and see for yourself. He's not here. See it for yourself. They came in and saw where Jesus had lay, and they ran to the disciples, and then immediately on their way, they run into Jesus. This is amazing to me. They don't see Jesus until they believe the angel, but the angel doesn't show them the resurrected Christ. He just shows them where Jesus lay. In other words, they got to obey the word of God out of faith, but God still dealt with them at the point of their need, at the point of their fear, at the point of their doubt. He asked them to come and see the evidence that Jesus wasn't here, but he didn't show them Jesus resurrected. Instead, he goes, look, he's not here. Go and tell the disciples, but come and see first for yourself. So they came in and saw that Jesus wasn't there, and then by faith headed towards the disciples to tell them that Jesus had been risen, to obey the command of God And as soon as they believed and turned and began to participate in the mission that God had given them, to participate in God's work, immediately they run into Jesus and they have this whole encounter with him where they recognize who he is, and he's, tells them that he's, gonna be going ahead of them to go and tell the disciples. In fact, that what Jesus says to them first and foremost is greetings. He says, hi, not, don't be afraid, it's me. He doesn't say, I've been risen. They already had all of the information. They already believed he was risen. They already saw where he lay in the tomb. They already knew he was going to Jerusalem. So now that they're participating with him by faith, their faith didn't raise Jesus. Their faith didn't cause Jesus' appearance. But participating with God's agenda by faith, they got to see what God's grace accomplished for them. They got to see the resurrected Jesus. They got to be directed by him. They got that personal, relational assurance. He personally intervened in their participation in the mission of sharing that Jesus was risen again. Isn't that amazing? You and I are not shown God in the flesh in front of us. He doesn't part the clouds and show up and say, I've got you, here's what I'm doing. Instead, he asks us to trust him, and he doesn't neglect our fear, our need, our hurt. When Lazarus died, Jesus went to the place of their grieving and he cried with them, and he asked where they laid him, and they went to the very place of their mourning and their grief, and he grieved with them, though he knew in advance he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead. In the same way, the angel doesn't say, why didn't you believe him? Why did you even expect that he would be here? Of course he's not here. He didn't rebuke them. He didn't make it difficult for them. He didn't neglect their fear and doubt and hurt. Instead, he invited them to come and see for themselves that Jesus wasn't there, and asked them to believe and respond to the reality of Jesus without having yet seen Jesus himself. And choosing to believe and choosing to respond and seeing enough for themselves to act by faith, they saw what only the grace of God could accomplish in the resurrected Christ. And the way they experienced that was personally with him. They weren't given a vision that he had been resurrected. They weren't given a picture. There wasn't a replay, right? Time didn't go backwards and forwards and they watched what happened. They saw the tomb rolled away. They heard the angel's directions. He beckoned them in to see for themselves that he wasn't there. They were there to see Jesus. They were hurting because he had died. They were fearful that something might happen to the body, but they came in and saw that the body was not there. They remembered the words that Jesus had told them. They heard the message of the angel, and they responded to God's direction. And as they responded by faith in God's direction, they got to see the glory of God and the grace of God and the personal relationship that they got to experience with Jesus Christ resurrected right in front of them. But it was after they received the truth by faith. Look, our faith doesn't cause God's activity. Our faith is not something that causes what only God can do. We're not the cause of God's activity in our life, but by faith we can participate in what only God can accomplish. And as we respond and participate with him by faith, we get to experience what only grace can accomplish in and through us and for us. And we always experience that relationally with the very person of Jesus Christ. Look, he is in you. He's going to live through you. And as I and you choose to participate in what he's doing, we get to experience the love that only he can produce. We get to experience the joy that only he can produce. We get to experience the peace and the rest that only his Spirit within us can produce. We personally experience Jesus Christ in us as we, by faith, choose to act like that is true in us and through us. In other words, when I choose to love other people that are unlovable, Christ produces love through me for them. When I choose to forgive people who are unforgivable, which is all of us, Christ miraculously produces that compassion and forgiveness out of his overflow and sufficiency for us. We can forgive others' indebtedness to us. It doesn't mean we forgive them so we immediately trust them again with what they cost us. No, we can forgive them and we can be wiser for the error, but we don't have to hold them indebted to us for what they've done. We can forgive them and set them free and us and participate in the love and forgiveness and joy and hope and empowerment that only the Spirit of Christ in you and I, the Holy Spirit, can produce through us for them. We choose by faith to trust His sufficiency by grace and experience personally and relationally the person of Jesus Christ as we walk with Him and experience His life, as He demonstrates what only He can do. Our faith doesn't cause it, but our faith allows us to participate and thereby experience it relationally with the person of Jesus Christ. So all that you're going through right now, this week, this month, if you're watching this the week that I record it, we're going through all of the lockdown and social distancing of the coronavirus that's sweeping the nation. And if you're watching it now or watching it later and there's other crises and relational conflicts and financial deficits and personal pain and hurt and illness in your life and in your experience, or maybe things are going great now, but there's always going to be another crisis. There's always going to be doubt. There's always going to be grief and loss and heartache. So when that happens, whether now or in the future, our goal is to trust God because of what He has already shown us, because of what He's already done, because of His work on the cross and in His resurrection that we have believed and bear witness to. Because of who He's already proven Himself to be to us, we respond in faith in a crisis or in a circumstance or in a need that we haven't yet seen Him move. We don't yet know what He's going to do. We don't know what His plan is, but we know who He is as a person. So because of who He is, who He's already proven Himself to be, we move forward in trust with Him. And our faith with Him allows us to participate. And as we participate in what He's doing and what He directs, He actually shows up and we get to know Him more and participate with Him as He does what only He can do by grace. Your faith will not cause a calamity to end. Your faith will not cause your healing. Your faith will not earn or merit God's activity and blessing in your life, but you're choosing to believe Jesus is who He's proven He is on the cross, and responding your immediate circumstances like the same Jesus that's no longer in the tomb is with you, walking with you, directing you, empowering you, living through you. You act like the truth is true. You respond like the truth is true, and your faith allows you to experience the truth relationally with the person of Jesus Christ. So we don't just see Him accomplish what only He can do. We experience relationally with Him the very thing He is accomplishing. The love that He gives us for other people and the joy He gives us in a circumstance is the love and joy and the hope and the kindness that we experience from Him. We experience that forgiveness emotionally as we share it with other people. We experience the fruit of the Spirit He gives us towards others. So His love and joy and peace and patience and goodness and kindness and faithfulness and gentleness that He produces through us, and self-control, everything that He produces in us to express in our circumstances and in our relationships, we get to experience relationally with Jesus as He lives through us to the glory of God. Our faith doesn't cause it, my friends, but our faith allows us to participate in it. And in participating, we experience Jesus personally and relationally as He does what only He can do by grace in and through us. Our faith is a choice to act upon the truth being true, to act like the truth is true. I believe the truth, so I'm going to act like it's true. And because I act and participate with Him according to the truth, I experience the reality of the resurrected Christ personally and relationally in my circumstances. So I walk out knowing Him more and making Him known every time I choose by faith to believe His grace is sufficient, that He is relationally engaged with me, that He is in union with me spiritually, that who I am is who He says I am, because what He's done not just for me, but in me and will do through me to the praise of His glorious grace. I hope that's an encouragement to you. He says, not just quickly go and do, but come and see the truth. And when you see the truth and you choose to act on the truth, then go quickly. This is urgent. I love that God knew it was necessary for Christ to go through this. He knew that people would grieve. He knew the disciples would be afraid. That was necessary for 2.5 days. It was necessary from Friday to Sunday for the disciples to be grieving the loss of Jesus, for the disciples to be wondering what God was doing. That was necessary because they could not understand the crucifixion and the resurrection before it occurred. But as soon as it was no longer necessary, God wanted to intervene quickly. Go and tell the disciples, end the grief, end the pain, invite them to enter into the wonder of the resurrected Christ. End this. It was necessary, but it's no longer necessary. So quickly go and tell them it's over. It's done. It's changed. He's resurrected. Your grief has turned to joy. Now go quickly. It was urgent. It was necessary that they go through the grief because the crucifixion was necessary and the mortal mind could not conceive the resurrected life of Christ. But now that it's been accomplished, it's no longer necessary. So quickly go and tell them to enter into the freedom and rest and assurance of the resurrected life of Christ. It was urgent, but first, God invited them to enter into the very place of their fear and grief by faith with God, and having received the truth, they got to participate with him and experience relationship with the resurrected Christ and participation in his work for the disciples who desperately needed to know the truth that they had first believed and then experienced relationally and personally with Christ himself. I hope that's an encouragement to you. What comes to your mind when you think about that process? What questions do you have as you walk through that episode of Scripture? Share in the comments your thoughts, your questions, your feelings, your wonderment, your wonderings about this passage. And be sure to subscribe and share with other people, because that really does help us to share with more people. The more people who subscribe to this channel, the more the video channel will share this video with other people. So please do subscribe. Really does help us let more people know about the finished work of Christ, so that we, by faith, can all together encourage one another to choose to act upon the truth that is true, and in doing so experience our relationship with Christ and his finished work. So subscribe, share your comments and questions. I can't wait to share with you again. Thank you guys. Love ya.